Hello, everyone. Welcome. Welcome to join us to this workshop session. Great. We'll give just one more minute for any late joiners to come online. For the purposes of this workshop, we have all the participants are placed on mute. So we do welcome any and all questions. So please add them to the chat if you are on our Zoom session. And then from Facebook, we'll get Anna, my dear colleague. She will help us catch up with any questions that might come up from there. If you feel happy to, please open up your video so we can see each other. It's always nicer to see faces rather than just blank screen. All right. So good evening to everyone who is in our time zone here in Middle East. Good afternoon, good morning to everyone else joining us remotely. My name is Tiina-Maija and I'm in the team of Illuminations Abu Dhabi. And this session is to talk to you about an upcoming workshop series called Choosing Our Story that we will begin in about 10 days' time. So this Choosing Our Story is a set of 7 weekly online workshops. Each of them is 90 minutes and it's an interactive workshop. And they are created as a build-up. So every session of the 7 builds up on the previous one and previous one to address or question or explore the on the surface very simple question of who am I, to really see how much of authenticity and how much clarity we actually have on the who it is that we are, if we are not our title, if we are not, and here is my able helper. Oopsie, come meow. If we are not using the title, using the label of a wife, a daughter, a sister, a friend of, but who is actually the being, the I that I am. And it's often a very surprising exploration journey. And that's why we have chosen to spread it over 7 weeks and 7 separate topics, so that we have time and we honor the exploratory journey of this topic. To begin today's session, in which we'll discuss a bit in more depth about what in each of the 7 sessions is going to be covered, I'll start with the who am I as the facilitator of these workshops. So as I said, my name is Tiina-Maija. I am from Finland and I've lived here in Middle East for the past 25 years, nearly 25 and a half years. And I have a long background, over 20 years in corporate management. I am from a hospitality background by my formal education. And for the past 20 years, I've also studied and explored and experienced various holistic healing modalities, many avenues on personal development front, coaching, leadership development, and generally speaking, all things holistic wellness related. I'm also a certified yoga instructor and an indoor cycling instructor. And a lot of my coaching work as well happens whilst on the move. So I do coaching, cycling or walking, and I love combining the different modalities of healing or yoga or mindfulness to the work that I do. And I would say a particular interest that I have and have developed and nurtured over the years is about the power of our minds and how the mind really is the infinite tool that can help us lead a very empowered or perhaps a very restricted life. So in a lot of the work that I do as service is helping people unlock their potential through unlocking and rewiring and readjusting how the mind is set. So what is the mindset? And so in this 7 workshop series, we are also looking at all of these different lenses that I'll cover in more detail in a minute through the lens of mindfulness and resilience. So why this topic of choosing our story? My own story is that when I was still in the corporate management world, I now, on hindsight, looking back, I realized that I was really hiding the true me in that environment. So I chose to play a role of this hardcore corporate executive who had the mind. I was looking after commercial discipline in my role, and whilst there was this very important side to me, which is the spiritual quest, mindfulness, yoga, meditation, things like that, it was not something that I would ever discuss in the workplace. And I always did it motivated by the need to be like hardcore and need to be all business and need to be perceived as the best possible professional in my niche, in my industry. And it did take a redundancy, and then the forced downtime that followed, that led me to really explore what is truly important for me and who it is that I am when I am no longer my title. And it was a bit of a rude awakening at the time to really realize that I did not know who I was if I wasn't my title. And that was 13 years ago. So now I'm very happy to say that I do know who I am. And the role that I was playing obviously was a part of who it is that I am, but it wasn't the true, authentic, real, whole me. And being very grateful for having had that experience all those years ago, it is now my quest to help others also rediscover, discover, find out, and sort of unleash the true self into the world so that we can be all that we were meant to be in this lifetime. So the workshop series is a journey of discovery into life mastery. It's a process where we not only scratch the surface of who we are, but we enter into the core of our being using different tools and modalities. And we look at the life we are currently living and take a measurement on where we are today and whose life it is that we are actually leading. Is it a life that we truly desire to live, or is it a life that we feel or think or we are told we ought to be living? And the reality of today is, and the COVID environment is probably a added factor to so many of us, but even without, so the pre-COVID era, so many of us led very busy, probably somewhat stressful lives. And when we are very busy, what tends to happen is that we forget the critical importance of self-care. And we run our lives much on autopilot. And it's like, okay, today is Wednesday, which means that there is this and this and this and this hobby, there is this and this and this and this task, there is this and this meeting, these and these people that I must reach out to, talk to, say this, say that. And we end up running on totally autopiloting through our days, through our lives. And it often takes a significant, unusual event that stops us in our tracks to force us to take stock. And when we are living life from a point of self-mastery, that is when we are actually taking stock every single day, every single moment, and we won't allow our life to slip into autopilot. And that's one of the key learning outcomes of this journey that we are offering to everyone who signs up and joins. And it is also from the point of well-being and a point of that very important self-care that we want to reinforce the message of how important it really is that we do take care of ourselves. If we don't take care of ourselves, then we aren't really best equipped to take care of anyone else either. So that's an important message to all the caregivers, all the parents, everyone out there who is really putting themselves second with telling themselves that story that, oh, well, as long as my kids are okay, as long as my partner is okay, I'll be fine. But I'll tell you what, if we are not okay, we will not be able to look after others. So it really is so important that we are at peace with our own situation, our own story, and we consciously look after it. Not just like crisis manage it, but really proactively, preventatively look after our own well-being. So that's my professional and personal quest of this time now, to help people and organizations as well to lead the best possible existence, to essentially thrive and not merely survive. And survival is fine. We all go through dips and drops in our lives. For example, right now, these very sad news from Lebanon and Beirut. I'm sure many of us know people who are harmed by what's going on there. And such an event, of course, drops us momentarily to a place of survival. And that is completely fine. And that is okay. And that is how it should be. But what would not be a great place of being is that if we get stuck in survival mode. So in this workshop series, we are looking at ways and suggestions and possibilities for all of us to explore on how can we become more resourceful and more skilled at sort of elevating ourselves from that place of survival and like increasing the range of our operating modus so that we also have the ability to thrive and not simply keep on surviving. So part of this quest is to reconnect with our sense of joy, with our sense of really having a purposeful purpose for being here right now. And my own belief is that we are all meant to be living a happy, joyous, fulfilled life. And whilst we need the other side of the coin, which is the occasional challenge, so that we can appreciate and be grateful for the better times, we really can choose. We are the architects of our lives. We are the architects of our stories. So we have the ability, theoretically speaking at least, to choose the story. What is it that our life is all about? So do we choose thriving or do we choose surviving? And we want to bring consciousness to all of us in that we realize that it is a choice. So I'm going to move on to screen share now to help us navigate through the content of the workshop. So bear with me just 1 second as I flip onto that mode. So here we are. So the story of my life. How do we create the most compelling, loveful, happy, and fulfilling life starting right now? So the first step in all of this is realizing that all that we really have and what we are in control of is right at this moment. And many of us spend our lives and spend significant time in our lives either ruminating about what was in the past or being concerned or possibly worried or wondering about what will be in the future. Any one of us will do some of this, and the more we do of either the looking into the past or looking out to something in the future, the less time and space we have to be in the present time. And what it is that we can actually do something about is, of course, right now. Certainly we cannot change anything that was in the past, nor can we actually control what will be in the future. But the only thing that is here now in our control is the present moment. And that is where we are bringing in the important element of mindfulness and resilience, and we will be sharing some simple tools and tips on how we can easily bring ourselves into the present moment, letting go of the past and the future, and focus on where we are in control of, which is now. And in that practice of mindfulness, we are also bringing our awareness from, if you think of the letters involved in when we say we are nowhere, we move from nowhere to now, here. On the screen, you see this nice wheel. We call this the wheel of life. And in coaching practice, we often begin any work with a client by looking at this wheel of life and completing an analysis of these 8 different areas of life to understand how satisfied or fulfilled we are with these different key areas in life. And as you can tell from the highlighted colors, you can see that quite a staggered wheel has formed when someone has filled in this exercise. This is often a really eye-opening way to take a quick stock on how it is that I'm feeling right now today about my life. Often when we are asking ourselves, how is it that we're doing? Or if someone is asking us, hey, how are you today? What's our standard response? It usually is, I'm okay, I'm fine, I'm good. Or even if we say, I'm not so good, it's like a catch-all, overall splash answer without any deep thought. However, if someone was to ask us, so how is your social and friends life right now with the month 5 starting of the COVID era, for example? That immediately makes us think on a completely different level versus how we might be answering this question if someone just said, how are you? Same with the question, who am I? So who am I when I'm thinking of my money situation, for example, or my attitude toward money? Or who am I in terms of me in the world of health and fitness? It's a very different angle and immediately a different meaning to the question. So this is a really powerful way how we take a first snapshot of where we're at and who am I being in my life today. We use this stock take as a starting point so that we can see what it is in our life that is actually doing pretty okay. What are the areas where if we made a positive change, we would instantly feel so much better. This exercise will also help us to understand that what do we consider as a priority in our life? Is it truly a priority for me? Or is it priority because of the circumstance in which I am presently living? With this exercise, we'll also complement this with a resilience exercise where we will, audio fell out. Sorry about that. So we'll take a resilience stock take as well, where we can see on a spiral on how we are faring at the moment as far as how much are we on a paradigm of surviving or perhaps in a flow and thriving through life in these different 8 houses of the wheel of our life. So in the first of the 7 workshops, we will be exploring the who am I through connecting with our purpose, the why for being in this lifetime. now. So what's purpose? Purpose is what gives us meaning, drive, focus, the reason for being. And we are exploring in this workshop, do we feel that we are living on purpose? So are the choices we are making truly the choices that fulfill our hearts with joy, fulfill ourselves with going, yes, this is it. This is empowering. This is giving me energy. This is lifting my life up. Or is the choices that we are making mind-based decisions, and they are actually sucking energy, making us feel dense, making us like shrink down, making us feel smaller, rather than elevating, expanding, growing, and moving forward. Then in our workshop number 2, one second, I just need to move. My laptop seems to be frozen. Okay, it's not moving, so we stay here. Well, building on the workshop 1, which is on about purpose, in workshop 2 on values, we'll be doing an exercise to enlist our top values and pick the 3 most important to work with in the different areas of our lives. We'll also understand the ownership of our values. So are we having values because they match our purpose, or because we are afraid of losing something or trying to be what we think others think we should be? And finding congruency, finding alignment with our values and purpose is a super empowering experience and further shines the light on how we can really thrive in our lives. We'll also mirror this with a resilience spiral again and see how we are handling different things, different events that are happening in our lives. And as homework, we'll get some nice exercises on how we can sort of expand on the span of our mind on how we are handling things and how we are living up to, or perhaps stopping ourselves reaching a life that is in line with the values that we discover. We'll also look at values that might not serve us best in terms of how we are discovering what our purpose is, and therefore giving ourselves the permission to change our values and looking at different ones that would more drive us toward what we want our stories to represent. Then in our 3rd workshop, we are going, one sec. Sorry, a little technical hitch going on here. I think we are back now. Okay, slides won't move, so we are looking at this slide. Okay, so the 3rd workshop, we will be going further by starting to look at what it is that we think others expect of us versus what is our expectations, and how do these expectations support or hinder us living our highest purpose. We'll also explore our inner programming, set expectations, some of which we may realize we wish to let go of. We'll further our mindfulness skills and learn to connect with our team of inner voices, the inner critic, the support crew, and to realize how we are creating our realities by what we tell ourselves in our unconscious mind. Then on the fourth workshop is all about boundaries. Essentially, how it is that we lead our lives. So to what extent we are in control and mastering what happens, what goes on for our lives, or do we let the outside world take us for a ride? So where are the boundaries? And we might find that some of the boundaries are like too tight and some boundaries might be too loose. Too, meaning that it may not be serving our highest purpose. So that will be what we are exploring. And there's some really great homework and fun experimentation to come out of that session. Then the fifth workshop session is about habits, further exploring how consciously or unconsciously, as it may happen, we lead our lives. What are helpful habits which would support our purpose or our cause? What are habits that no longer serve us? What are habits that we are repeating as learned behavior from our parents, our colleagues, our bosses, friends, frenemies, and to what end? We'll also take away some tools and techniques to help us further advance ourselves on our path to self-mastery. And then onto our sixth workshop, we'll start to bring all the strands from the previous sessions together and start building up to making a stand for our new, congruent, empowered, and in the flow life story. And importantly, outlining our leading character, ourselves, in this story. So who is this person that we truly feel called to be? How do we really want to show up in the different areas of our wheel of life, in different situations, be it work, be it home, be it whatever moment in life. And we work to create a powerful intention for our life and fulfillment of our purpose from this moment on. And last but not least, in the seventh workshop, celebrating our success. A fun fact, did you know that by the time we reach the age of 18, on average, we will have received a praise or positive acknowledgement about 30,000 times. And most of it is by the time we reach the age of 3 years old. So in this seventh session, we are going to be adding to that number and setting a frame for more praise to fill our cups with. We share stories and discoveries, learnings, and celebrate. We'll check back in with the Wheel of Life, how our various initiatives are going, and set a plan for short, mid, and long term to support the new story we have created and agree our terms of success. So that's the summary of the 7 series workshop. Do we have any questions that I could answer at this point? If yes, please write them in the chat. And I'm seeing a question here from someone, which slide? So yes, there were other slides, but for some reason my friendly Mac has decided to be stuck on this point. So I am not able to show you the other slides at this point. But I hope you were listening because the content is what I have shared. Aha, stop share. We might be able to go, very good. Okay, so I can now flick through showing you. So in the values exercise, I can show you, we are looking at different levels of values as per, I'm using a Barrett values system in the values work, where we are looking at aligned with 7 levels of consciousness on where our different, we choose 10 values that we work with, where on this sphere they will land. And then on the expectations and boundaries, there's different exercises that we are using. And then the autobiography is really connection with the who we are as the newfound self in the story that is aligned with our purpose. So those were the slides that we missed earlier. Okay, do we have any questions that I could answer at this point, or any comments? Okay, let me have a look. Okay, yes, I did. And do you have a question? Do all sessions focus on rewiring the brain? To some extent, yes. So rewiring our disposition in life, absolutely. I do also we'll probably schedule that for September due to we have a pretty heavy workshop schedule already in place for August. So in September, there is a particular working topic that I will be leading with is resilience. So that's another angle in how do we more master our lives. So I would say that yes, we are talking about rewiring our minds or our brains. So that's our link to neuroplasticity and how by repeating a certain way, how we are conducting our lives right now is a result of how the brain is wired presently. And when we are introducing new habits or new realizations, new understandings, and choose differently, and then reinforce this new way of thinking, way of behaving, way of showing up, it over time does result in rewiring how we are programmed and how we operate. So it's always there as like the fil rouge, as we would say in French. I love how it sounds in context. So the red line, the core idea behind all the work is all cemented in that concept that we are working to mold the way how we are wired, how we are programmed to serve us better. Alia, did that answer your question? Yeah, great. Anything else I could answer at this point? Okay, there's a question I've actually received here separately, privately. So on the workshop repetition, so it is seven sessions, weekly sessions. And at this point, it may be that we would repeat this in consequent months, but at the minute, this is how it's designed. There is one session per week. It's 90 minutes. Based on the Zoominars, how we will conduct them. They will be interactive, so we'll be working in working groups depending on how many people there will be, either pairs or triads. And there will be quite a bit of self-journaling. There will be fun and exploratory homework after every one for the very purpose of helping us rewire and reset how our minds are dispositioned to operate. So there'll be a lot of exploration, there'll be a lot of open-mindedness needed in order for any shifts and transformations to take place in each of our lives. And of course, it's all based on free will. So we all need to want to make those shifts and changes for anything to happen. So I cannot do any of it for you or on anyone's behalf. We all need to choose and want to do that ourselves. Thank you. Each session is 90 minutes in duration, and we're hosting them on Friday evenings, 7:30 p.m. I know our schedule says otherwise, but the current schedule is from 7:30 to 9 p.m. on Fridays, starting from the in 10 days. So not this coming Friday, but the next. Okay, and there we have the registration link for everyone who is interested. And Illuminations Central Admin or myself directly, very happy to answer any other questions that might pop up any time. And I think if nothing else, then we can conclude. We don't have to stay here. If nothing else needs clarification. Yeah, please. Okay, lovely. So thank you very much, everyone, for being here this evening and attending. And I look forward to seeing you in the workshop in about 10 days' time. And wishing you a really lovely, empowered, happy rest of the day and the weekend coming ahead. And everyone, please stay safe. Bye. Thank you.